wasn't even wearing a seatbelt. The airbag went off, and my face was jacked.
Oh, yeah.
Millie makes songs, hey, I made this one. Jerry builds bikes, and they go real fast. They're mental defectives.
Welcome to the Mental Defectives podcast, a show where we interview interesting individuals with a focus on addiction and mental health. I'm your host, Milligram. That's Millie if you know me, Mr. Graham if you know me. Joined, as always, by the Henry Rollins of Harleys.
Ooh,
he's the gearhead with a heart of gold. It's Mr. Jerry with a G.
Glad to be here.
And today...
Hold on.
Hold it.
You should hit that like and subscribe button if you dig what we do.
Because today, we have a very special guest.
Oh, we are also now sponsored by House of Hope.
Proudly brought to you by the House of Hope. And check for us on all your social media, Mental Defectives Podcast, wherever your social media, because that's where it is, Mental Defectives Podcast. Because today, we have a very special guest. He's a psychiatric nurse practitioner who can slap the bass as well as he can slap some sense into you. A former EMT who's here to school us on all things mental health and country music. Please welcome David. David, how's it going?
It's going very well right now. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on the recommendation of our good friend of the show, Kyle. David, where are you from?
I'm from Dublin, Ohio. Born and raised.
Oh,
here.
just around the way.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, just 10 minutes down the street.
Right on.
Yeah.
And David, what was like the beginning or like the first inclinations that you had of like a mental health issue, or like how did that journey start, I guess?
Well, it's hard to pinpoint when exactly I knew that I had some sort of mental health problem, because, you know, as a lot of us are raised, we're not really aware of, mental health. You know, it just seems like oh man, you see a shrink, you're way out there, man, you know. So that was kind of, my upbringing, not, and not that, my parents were like, oh, hey, you shouldn't, associate with that. But anyways, so yeah, probably not until I started going to therapy at age, I was probably like 25, I believe, and that was when I realized that I grew up with a lot of anxiety, and had some trauma, and I was like, and I was just like mind blown. I was like, really? I'm like, no way. Like,
So what were some of the behaviors that were happening around that time to,
Yeah, well, at that time, to prompt therapy, I was dating a girl. We were pretty steady, and she was going to school for social work, and so she kind of, I've always had sleeping issues, and we'll get into that, so that was the main reason why she wanted me to go, is to work on my sleep, because I was just always tired. Well, I'm always tired, but
yeah.
Anyways, but as far as more of a chronological story here, with my mental health, one of the things that came up with the therapist was, the fact that that I grew up with a stutter, so that was, and that growing up with a stutter, I let that really get to my head.
Sure.
And really lower my self-esteem, and I was constantly every interaction with with any human being, I was always like, oh man, I gotta say that word. How am I gonna say it? I can't say it. And it would be like, just, all the time. And then I would just get, I would melt down almost every time. And, so the only time that I could really feel that I could talk was when I was with friends or with family. But when it came to, making phone calls or, raising your hand in school or, going around the room, I tried everything I could to avoid, the situations. I would raise my hand and be like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. And it's like, they must have been like, man, this kid's got a
bladder issue. I mean, that's got to be brutal. Is like a little, what age are we talking? Like elementary school or middle school?
Yeah. So
kids are brutal. Like that's got to be.
Yeah.
So, it was really strange how it started. I didn't have the stutter when I was like in preschool and kindergarten. And then it was just right in the middle of first grade. I remember the first word that I stuttered on, and the exercise was to the teacher would hold up a card with a word, and and would go around the room and okay, you got to read this word, and the word was plum. Okay, and literally like, and it just came out of nowhere. Like I could not say the word, and the teacher was getting real frustrated. Like, come on, it's plum, just say it.
Oh no!
Yeah, freaking out, and it literally took an entire like 5 minutes. And I finally got it out. And then ever since then, like, throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, even college, it was a pretty big issue.
And is that something like, do they file like in the psychiatric field? Do they file a stutter? Is that like, do they categorize it as like a speech impediment? Is that like a side effect of like an anxiety disorder, or they don't even know?
It's not even in the DSM-5. It's like nothing.
Interesting.
It's like not like no one really knows why it happens or what it is.
Interesting.
It's just it's like just a weird thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, didn't even to be honest, didn't even study anything about it during school. I mean, unless there was like a little paragraph in there, but nothing about it. So, I mean, from what I know, I would say it's an anxiety problem. But because as I've overcome it, it's I've learned to somehow not be anxious about it anymore, and just so then you tend to not really you don't stutter. I mean, I still do, but I don't let it bother me. But so anyways, so growing up with that, I along with that, day in and day out, when it came to having to do public speeches in school, like, I mean, I wanted to freaking die,
jump out of your skin.
Yeah,
I bet.
Because that's the number one fear for most people.
Oh,
is
yeah,
like
it's
public speaking.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
now let's put icing on the cake.
Let's
right.
pour some gas on that fire.
Right.
No kidding.
And so there was many times, I just would have rather died, literally. So growing up with that, I just, I felt really low self-esteem. I couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't talk to girls. I couldn't get the job that I wanted to have, and it felt really limited. I was really putting up a lot of walls. On top of that, I always had a math tutor. Always had a math tutor. Always had a reading tutor. Always had an English tutor. So even just doing school was really difficult, and so I'm growing up here like, man, I'm a fucking idiot, like I'm a fucking loser, like I'm not going to amount to anything.
That's a lot to put on a kid.
Yeah.
Having a tutor for everything on top of, the speech thing and all of that. That's rough.
Right. So anyways, I as we went here, having a brain fart. So having all these tutors, and feeling like a loser. So it got to high school, and I would be doing so I get to high school, and and then I find weed, and so
there you go.
So then I just was constantly high, constantly smoking weed, and so that seemed to help me, to numb, to not care about things, but then people, my original, friend circle would, they would always make fun of me about how I'm like this pothead and stuff, and they would cut me down quite often, like you're not gonna amount to anything, and and so that was like the general impression of what I saw from other people, how they viewed me, and that's how I generally felt about myself. And then so then I had a friend, we smoked a lot of pot together, and he had a girlfriend, and we hung out every day, just going to the park, and then eventually after a year of knowing this girl, and hang out with them, basically it seemed like, looking back, it seemed like he wasn't comfortable being with her without me there, so it was just a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay. And or something like that, and eventually they, I didn't think he treated her well, and then I started dating her, and then so that's pretty taboo, like this guy was like my best friend.
Yeah.
And so I did one of the most taboo things you can do to someone, and is date their girlfriend, but I just felt like, I felt like such a loser, like I'm gonna be alone forever, and
here's this girl that likes me,
Yeah.
and even if it is kind of my buddy's girl, like I gotta seize this opportunity.
Right. So anyways, that relationship only lasted about 2-3 months, and then when I so it was about 19, something like that, when she broke up with me, I left her house, and and I drove a GTI, a Golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a badass car.
Yeah.
Really fast car. Yeah. So she lived next to a hill. It went down and towards a tree, and so I was in a very highly emotional moment, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking drive this car straight into that tree. I don't even care what happens, and so that's what I did.
Damn.
And I probably was going 50 miles an hour, 60 something, and the grace of God, obviously lived through it. I just, the airbag, I wasn't even wearing a seatbelt. The airbag went off, and my face was jacked. I mean, jacked. I had a big nodule on my cheek, and my eye was completely black and blue. But I guess we could say that was an impulsive suicide attempt.
The Mental Defectives podcast is brought to you by Milligram's new single, a grungy pop-punk emo anthem for the ages. Listen to Milligram's new single on all streaming platforms.
My parents did what they could to help me with, my stuttering, and I went to a lot of speech therapy and, things like that. My dad wanted me to get some kind of special device, but throughout this whole time, I just wanted to be, just like everyone else. So I kind of dealt with it, through, with denial. And even though it was like right in front of my face all the time, So anyway, so I, but in general, I feel like I had a pretty comfortable childhood, with how my parents treated me, and but I also feel like that perhaps I was that it was too comfortable, and I just didn't know how to deal with the strife of life or whatever. But mainly so anyways, and then I went into an experimental drug phase, did all kinds of different things, and but I got lucky. I never got truly addicted to to anything,
which is just mind blowing to me. Like, you are setting this thing up to just deep dive into drug addiction or alcoholism, but that's just so
right.
Yeah, that's,
I don't understand either. I'd say there's been times where I was drinking a 12-pack every day. I probably did that for about a year. But then I would just have an epiphany and be like, this is making me feel like shit. I'm going to stop doing this. Yeah, right. And then there was a year where I dated this girl. She, she did a lot of cocaine. And, she was a dealer. And so, so I did that for about a year, and
cocaine and mental illness, that's got to be
it's a pretty good combo. But yeah, just kind of saw the people we're hanging out with, and again had another epiphany and was like, what the hell? This is stupid. I'm done with this,
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Just you are teeing this up perfect. And that's when I started smoking crack every day for 10 years. It's just like that thing. I try and explain it to people. It's like you either have it or you don't.
Right.
You either have that compulsion of I take a drink or a drug and my body and my mind just says more, or you just don't have it. And it's just no amount of external factors can alter that internal switch that we have.
Right. And
Crazy.
so, that further, solidifies the fact that, substance abuse is a disease, and it really makes sense to me, but I can see how there are a lot of type A individuals that are like, oh, well, you realize it's bad, so just stop, and those are the kind of people that don't really get it, because they haven't been anywhere near that. But anyways.
Okay, so you crashed the car, doing the experimental drug phase thing, and then where do we go from there? Like, was there any blowback from like the car crash thing of like the parents like a treatment or psych ward or anything like that?
That's right. I think I started seeing a psychologist actually. Yeah, during that time, I forgot about that.
Were you receptive to that, or were you just like trying to get your parents off your back, or?
I think I was I think I was receptive of it. I because I wanted. I mainly wanted to go because I wanted to get rid of the stutter thing,
right. Sure.
And, so I was seeing them for that, but they went about it in a way, well, let's focus on, these other problems and, your anxiety and your confidence and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And at the time it made no sense at all. I mean, now I understand, but anyways, but I only did that for, maybe about like a year, and then got into the drugs, and I was like, oh, I'm good. And, just, a couple year party phase, college party phase, basically like I had like a commune house, where just people would just come in any time and, have a beer or whatever.
Yeah.
On the table.
Hell yeah.
But never, even tried opiates and just was like, I don't understand this. This is really expensive. And
it sure is.
I'm not having that good of a time right now. So it just never happened. So, anyways, during that party phase, I was also going through like I moved out of my parents and wanted to get out of this, I felt like a little baby, felt like a fucking loser, felt like a baby. And like, I need to start living on my own and taking care of myself, learning how to do the laundry, learning how to do dishes, learning how to cook, just basic skills of life. And, and at first, my dad was trying to pay my rent. I'm like, no, Dad, no, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Like, and, so, but I went through some times of spending all my money on the cocaine and ran out of money and, didn't have a job, was donating plasma and, but somehow I was going to school at the same time, and anyway, and then I got a painting job, whatnot. During this party phase though, like I had Scarface on literally every single day, like obsessed. Obsessed with it. And everyone was like, okay, like here we go again, like Dave's got Scarface on again, Tony Montana.
Chichi, get the yayo.
Right.
I can't do a Tony Montana.
My little friend. But the reason I had that on all the time was to for whatever reason, I looked up to him as a role model.
He's confident.
He's very confident.
Exudes confidence.
He's got a lot of balls.
Yes, he does.
And
a lot of yayo.
Right. He's got. But I admired the fact that he was, he had, a set of balls and the confidence, and he was just very strong, and I wanted to be like that.
Sure.
And I wanted to be able to, to stand up for myself in situations. So, anyway, that led to, so in a way it was good, but in another way it was bad. So when I was in the party phase here, there was a house that I used to go to buy my weed all the time, and and it was a a pretty shady place. And anyway, one day they had this pit bull, and it I was wearing a leather jacket, and it came up and tore the shit out of my leather jacket, and and my mom had just bought me that for Christmas, or something like and so here I am. I got this, I'm developing this Tony Montana mindset from Scarface, and I'm like, man, you motherfuckers, so you know what? I'm gonna go up there and stand up for myself and let them know that they need to pay me for for this jacket. The wrong motherfuckers to do that to. You don't do that to drug dealers. You don't do that. So anyway, I go in the the room in the house, and they sit down, and as I walk in, I see all these big dudes everywhere, like thug dudes everywhere, like not the typical guys that I see there, and I'm like, okay, but I didn't think anything of it. Sat down with the guy, put his arm around me. I'm like, okay, cool, this is going pretty good. All right. Naive as hell. And he's like, so, yeah. He's like, so yeah, you want your money, right? We, because of the dog situation. Okay, all right, we'll come back here. So him and his buddy are there, the two head dudes, and boom, got knocked in the face, like real hard. And they're like, all right, come on, we're going to bring you back here. We're going to bring you back here and beat your ass. And so I'm like thinking, man, I got to get out of here now. So I used my football swim move that I learned in football, and got through. And at the time, my buddy went with me there, and so then I'm trying to, I ran towards the door, tried to unlock the door, and then all these guys started getting on me, beating my ass, and then my buddy was like, hey, and so then he took an ass beating for me, so then it finally stopped, and then they tried to be our friends, and so that we would stay customers. So yeah, it was weird.
No.
They gave me a bottle of Mad Dog that was in the freezer to put on my. I had this big hematoma on my chin. To put, so yeah. So anyways, that was one of the that was a turning point, and that was a really good learning experience. I'm not sure if you guys have ever gotten your ass beat, but
sure,
you learn a lot when that happens. You learn a lot. So anyways, I was like, okay, yeah, I need to, stop doing this shit and get my shit together, and, get through school faster. and yeah, it just like woke me right up. So anyways, and then I got so I was going to school to for website design.
Okay.
And that was one that was a strong suit that I just knew how to make websites, but it's, I don't know, I just didn't like it. It was a pain in the ass dealing with clients, and I just didn't enjoy it.
The Mental Defectives podcast is proudly brought to you by the House of Hope. Since 1959, the House of Hope has provided substance use disorder treatment focused on long-term recovery.
Services include short and long-term residential treatment for men, certified recovery housing, and outpatient programs for men and women, using individual and group counseling, CBT, DBT, adventure therapy, financial literacy, and employment services. House of Hope helps individuals rebuild their lives.
Visit hofhope.org or call today to schedule a consultation.
Now let's get back to the episode.
And so I was like, you know what, I want to be a firefighter. But here I am. I'm still concerned about my stutter. Like, how am I going to be a firefighter if I'm stuttering and I gotta talk to my buddy that's in the fire, and and I can't freaking say the word, and you got to do it now, and
the roof is gonna collapse. You gotta let him know you can't. Like, you gotta be, hey, get out of there! The roof's gonna collapse.
But I just I went ahead and did it anyway. So the first part of that process was to get your EMT. So I got my EMT card, at this point I'm flying pretty straight here. Occasional drinking and stuff, and but I still felt like a complete loser. I can't get girls, and the girls I've gotten are complete losers, and have kids, and things like that. And so then I'm like, all right, you know what, I'm just gonna join the military. So I did the ASVAB test, and that was scored pretty decent scores, I guess, from what they told me. And let's see. So anyways, and then so it got to the point where I was just getting ready to sign the papers. At the time I was a bass player. I was playing bass as a hobby, since high school. Which by the way, the whole reason I started doing that, I was like, how am I gonna get girls if I can't talk to them? Well, maybe I can, play the bass, and maybe that's a way to do it. And so anyway, this country singer guy, he got a hold of me, and I just saw him at a bar. We were partying, and at the time I was playing metal. I had a metal band, and was playing all the time. My guy had a storage unit, and we would go there almost every night, and just play metal all night long, like the loudest speakers on the planet. So that was my thing, was metal. But then he's like a country singer, and he's like, hey, I can get you on stage. So I was like, I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that.
Yeah.
That's, one way to get girls. I'm not getting girls playing metal.
In a storage unit.
Right, in a storage unit. Right. Yeah. So.
Use some Kenny Chesney covers on the stage.
Right. So they, so my metalhead friends, they're like, oh man, what a pussy,
Yeah, right.
Of course. I'm like, well, hey, I'm not selling out. I'm buying in here,
There you go.
Right.
But so anyway, that's how my semi-professional music career started, and
Is that what kept you from signing up for the military?
yeah, that's
Okay.
what stopped me from signing in the military. I was
okay.
like, okay, go in the military or
Country band.
or playing a country band,
Yeah.
play on stage and make that your
Yeah.
your side career.
So at this point, are you out of college?
So at this point,
You got the EMT,
Yeah,
playing in the country band.
I just got out of college.
Okay.
With my bachelor's in digital communication, the website design,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't happy that but I was working as an EMT
Okay.
at the time and trying to get a firefighter job, and found that was really hard to get a job doing that. I applied for Columbus, and there's like a written test, there's a physical test, and then there's a verbal test.
Oh,
Guess
no.
which one I failed on?
Oh, shit.
Failed the shit out of that one.
Damn.
So yeah, so that wasn't happening. So so I was like, you know what? I like to take care of people. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna go for nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
So then, as I was in nursing school, I eventually got a job as a PCA, as a nurse assistant, OSU East Hospital, and earned every single penny there, and but I would post flyers of the country band, and so I got a lot of people from the hospital to come
Sweet.
to come party at the country band shows, and so that was a that was a good experience. So let's see. So anyways, during this time I meet a girl, playing shows, we start to hit it off. It kind of started out, we're just kind of sleeping together. She had kids. I was like, I don't know about dating a girl with kids. And then, but then, she played her cards right. And, we ended up, staying together, pretty steady. And so that, that was the one that, that led me to therapy, that, because she was a social worker and, had, the awareness about mental health, so still, it wasn't really up until I met her to where I really was really aware about, mental health. Okay. Still, feeling like, this is how life is. It's normal, like this is how it's supposed to be, or, so anyways, let's see, let me take a drink here.
And so what was it that she saw that was like prompted her to suggest the therapy? Like you mentioned, like a sleeping thing. Like you're still dealing with the stuttering at this point, or was there more going on? Like was there like depression or anxiety or panic attacks or anything like that? A little bit of everything.
I mean,
maybe.
I think she noticed that I was a pretty anxious person.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really acknowledge or really tell that. It just felt completely normal. And then, but mainly, you know, the sleeping problem, you know, like throughout my whole life, you know, just waking up every day, just really, really tired, just tired all the time.
Like not being able to sleep or not hitting like a REM?
Not being able to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even when I did sleep, I still would wake up feeling like I got hit by a train, you know, but I just kind of lived to just deal with that. But I mean, difficult, but that was just how it was. But anyway, she was like, you know, you need to work on that. And so, you know, I saw the therapist and told her about, you know, my upbringing with, you know, with the stuttering. She was like, you know, so let me back up. So, you know, during this time of my life, I kind of put the stuttering on a back burner. It wasn't quite really affecting me like it was when I was a kid and you know, during high school. You know, I forgot to mention during college, the way I got through the public speeches was I would like literally right before class I would pound a 40 ounce and smoke like 10 cigarettes and then maybe an extra beer and then go into class and raise my hand first. because that was when my buzz was the strongest. And I just had to read. I'm like, okay, just read your note cards, you know.
The Minnesota Defectives podcast is brought to you by Ride Sober, an online community for sober bikers.
At RideXSober on social media and RideXSober.com.
Check them out today for apparel like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, riding gloves, and garage banners.
Ride Sober, boldly sober.
Boldly sober.
And so that's how I did all my speeches, and you know, in early college. As I went on in college, I just would make sure that I would prepare a whole lot, and that would help me through. So, but anyways, so at that time, you know, the stuttering was kind of put, you know, it was just kind of, the bass was like my cape, you know, like as long as I had that, as long as I had the band, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I feel okay about myself.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't need to work on anything else, you know, and so anyways, I kind of brought up the stuttering on a side note, and she's like, whoa, wait, what's this about, about the stuttering? And she's like, wow, you went through a lot of trauma. Like, no wonder you're really wound up. Like, you're really wound up tight, and that really explains why you're not sleeping well, because every day, every single, situation, you're way up here, and it's hard to turn off that switch. So that was really eye-opening for me. So to this day, that that makes, the whole concept of anxiety makes sense to me. And people with PTSD, there's a lot of people that just cannot turn that switch off, and it's just because it's been stuck on for so long that the brain needs a lot of time to be able to
like a
to
fight
turn
or
that
flight
down.
response is switched on.
Right.
Okay.
But the flight is just, it's constantly turned on. Anyways, saw her, and then basically got to a point where she's like, yeah, I don't know, you just need a shot of Ativan, you know. So then I saw another another therapist, and but I wasn't, he was a good therapist, but I didn't, I didn't really improve anything, and I think it was just because I wasn't I wasn't desperate enough, I just was kind of going through the motions, just kind of expecting him to fix me instead of me
doing any
fixing
work.
me,
Yeah.
doing any work. So anyways, let's see. So
So this is the second therapist, and then, like, where do you go from there? So,
Okay.
you've tried 2 different therapists
All right.
at this point.
So now, okay, and see, during the time that I'm dating this girl with 2 kids, and my dad got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so that was pretty significant news. And I've always been very close to my dad. We were best friends, and let's see, so so then I think because of my my high alertness from all the anxiety that I had, I like really took that real serious. I'm like, okay, Dad, we got to get you in the right exact kind of program, and we got to be doing your exercises every day, and this and that. So I made sure that I was going back and forth from my girlfriend's to to my dad's house, and to help him with his exercises, and just I was very, very engaged in his care. And so anyways, as we go, things get a little closer between, get more serious between, my girlfriend and I, and, my parents, really accepted the kids as their grandkids, and I really felt like they were my kids. One of them called me daddy, because there was 2 different dads, and so he didn't really, his dad wasn't around, so he called me dad, and so then we get a house together. It's this dream house. I'm working night shift at the time. I mentioned I have the sleep issue. I'm like falling asleep almost every time. I'm not sure how I'm still here, but I fell asleep like almost every time I drove home.
Oh my God.
From work.
Yeah.
But just somehow it would just, I don't know, the grace of God, like, somehow I would just wake up enough to, because I remember, many times drifting into the other lane, and there's like another car coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like, wow, man. So anyways, we, my girlfriend and I, we start having issues, and we eventually just break up. We did a lot of drinking together, and we would have nights where we would be really excessive drinking, and then it would lead into arguments, and then just one day I just left, and she told me to leave, and so then so that we dated for about 5 years. That was pretty devastating. It was I felt like I lost my family. I felt like I let down my parents. They lost their grandkids. Felt extreme guilt with that. And then, my girlfriend, she was a social worker, but I also believe, looking back, that she used some of that knowledge to to kind of manipulate me and to get into my head. And she really made me feel like a piece of shit. Like I was just like this scumbag, and I really hadn't done anything wrong, during the relationship. No cheating. Even though I'm playing in bands and I had plenty of opportunities, none of that happened. And but yet still felt like a scumbag. So 4 days later, after we broke up, she's with another guy.
Oh.
From what I hear.
Yeah.
I didn't find out through her. I found out through the grapevine. But so that was like, oh, okay, still somehow she, and then every few months after that, she would, I'd be doing okay, and then she would send me a text like, yeah, it's just so great. It's just too bad that we didn't work out. The relationship I have now is just so magical, and I'm like, okay, cool, thanks,
Right.
And so, at this time, my, really feeling low. I'm still playing in the band stuff, and that's kind of keeping me going, and but just feeling really depressed. She still kind of continued to, she planted that seed of making me feel like it was all my fault. I'm such a scumbag, because I didn't do this or that right, so eventually, so I kind of, I was drinking a lot that first initial year, and eventually got to a point where I was feeling really suicidal, just like man, just like life really really sucks. And my dad is declining. I just completely let them down, and and I just really wanted to die. I didn't have a suicide attempt, but there was a lot of careless nights of binge drinking and taking other pills and things like that, and still waking up and stuff. But I didn't, the thing that stopped me from from wanting to actually do a suicide attempt was that I had to take care of my dad. I had to take care of my parents.
Right.
So during this time I get, I'm still seeing the same therapist, and, it's just still not really working out because I'm not really doing the work on me still. And and then so I finally get the sleeping checked on by a sleep specialist, and turned out I had I'm still working third shift at this time, still falling asleep on the way home almost all the time. And so it turned out that I had narcolepsy.
Oh shit.
So I got diagnosed with that. I was like, okay. Tried doing this let's see. So they got me on this this drug called Xyrem, and it's GHB, the date rape drug.
Oh.
Okay.
And okay, now we're talking.
All right.
And it's like the number one most controlled medication out of all medications out there.
Interesting.
And but anyways, no special story behind that of no date raping or anything. But
did it help?
It didn't help.
Oh,
it
man.
didn't help. No. So
what's it supposed to do? Just like knock
So,
you out at night to make sure you sleep through the night?
So,
and then you're...
so with narcolepsy, you're not getting the full deep wave sleep.
Yeah. Hey, Mental Defectives.
Would you like to advertise on our podcast?
If so, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com.
So we can help you make a lot of money.
A whole lot of money. And so then you got your RN, and then how does Real Psychiatric Services come about?
Okay. So let's see. So Real Psychiatric Services. I worked for when I got out of school, I worked for a substance abuse recovery center, long-term treatment center, and worked there for about 6 months. And I didn't feel right about how they wanted me to prescribe, and I just didn't like how they ran their program. It felt very financially centered, and I just didn't sit right with my morals and stuff. And so then I went to another place called Community for New Direction, which is basically like a place like Southeast. It's community mental health, treated literally everything under the sun, addiction to hardcore schizophrenia, and so during that experience, I didn't like how they were running things. They have a good mission. Ah, man, I shouldn't have said their name.
Okay, so you left that place. We'll bleep it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you are like, you decide to strike out on your own?
Yeah. So that place, I just, I didn't feel right about how they ran things. And then I was like, you know what? I was talking to my friend at the time, and he's like, we could, just, run our own things, run our own practices. I'm like, that's a great idea, and this leads to, putting a cap on my existential crisis here. During that time, I just got to a point with God, that I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna try so hard. I'm gonna let him, it'll just eventually show up. It'll be revealed. Okay. I'm having a hard time getting, connecting the dots here. Let's see. Okay, so my friend mentioned about the practice. Okay, and about how we could how that could be a thing, and so at the time I had my first experience going out of the country. I went to Africa. That really opened up my eyes, and then I went to Colombia and had an amazing experience there. I spent a month there. Just the overall vibe of the place really lit me up, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start this practice so that I can run it how I want, patient centered, and also have the ability to be autonomous and and travel and work at the same time.
Yeah.
Sure.
So in the previous places that I worked, I really didn't feel like I was really helping them because of how it was being ran. I mean, I helped people, but it was really difficult to do that because of the structure of the places. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this and run it how I want, patient centered, and so I have really found that that I have more of the ability to to help people the way that I want,
And so is Real Psychiatric Services, is it like telehealth only? Do you have like a brick and mortar location?
Yeah, so Real Psychiatric Services is it's I have an office.
Okay.
And it's located on Indianola and Morse Road. So we see a lot of people in the office and also through telehealth. We're a group of now three nurse practitioners.
Nice.
And we all have our own little niches, but I make sure to number one pick people that are like me, very very good-hearted, warm-hearted people, and that care and are real people, that we've also had problems too, so we can we can understand, we can relate.
Yeah.
And
then who would be a good candidate for going to Real Psychiatric Services? Like, what kind of issues would I be dealing with where I would seek out those kinds of services?
Well, someone like me,
okay,
from the past, but yeah, just anyone that's that's going through a hard time in their life, a difficult phase, or someone that also just wants to upgrade their game too, in general. Yeah, those kind of people, but yeah, most of the people we get are just are regular people like you and I, and that have that have some underlying mental health problems, but we don't want to look at mental health as a problem. We want to figure out how to use what you have to your advantage. You know, some of the most famous people in our past have had, mental health problems. But they have figured out how to use their mental health diagnoses to their advantage. So
Yeah.
So anyway.
And is RN, because I know like a psychologist, you have to be a psychiatrist to actually prescribe medication. Like as an RN, are you guys like prescribing medication?
So,
like it's a mix of therapy and medication
so
when needed?
I got my my specialty in psychiatric nursing. So I'm I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. That's what all of us are in the practice, and so we prescribe medication, and also do therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are like? Because I know like in the media, like they portray like mental illness is this like evil, deviant thing, or almost like a supernatural, like something like dissociative identity disorder, or like extreme like schizophrenia. Like what's like the actual like day-to-day things you see? Is it more like from the people we've interviewed on the show, even just speaking with you, it seems like it's a collection of a couple different things. Like you got the stutter, the anxiety, the narcolepsy, and then it's like a perfect storm of things. Like, is that more accurate? Like you might see somebody with depression and ADD versus someone that's just 100% schizophrenic.
Yeah, it's usually a mixture of things, similar to my story and of anxiety. There's, some sprinkles of a lot of PTSD out there. And with that comes, depressive symptoms, mainly, anxiety and depression. And then, some bipolar, with PTSD, with ADHD also. And also schizophrenia too, with anxiety and with depression, we don't get a lot of active, people in active addiction. Once I see that, I refer to, to a treatment center like Talbot Hall or whatever, a place like that. Yeah. A detox.
You got to put the crack pipe down before you
so
head to therapy. It sounds like it's probably the best.
Yeah,
probably the move,
probably a good decision.
Right. We see people after they've been through the their treatment program, or during their treatment program.
Sure.
As far as addiction goes. Yeah.
And then how would someone book an appointment or a consultation with you guys? Like, is there a website or a phone number, or what's the best way to get in contact there?
Yeah, so they can go on our website, realpsychiatricservices.com, and click on appointments at the top, and you fill out the form with all your information. That's one way. You can also just call the main line, and Tasha's really nice. She'll answer the phone and take all your information.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Off subject, Mount Rushmore of bassists.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good question.
Who you got?
So we got Victor Wooten.
That's a deep cut, but that's okay. I like it.
He's pretty serious.
That's a musician's answer for that. Okay, coming out the gate hot.
Flea.
Oh yeah,
obviously,
of course.
We have.
You got two more.
Let's see, two more. Those are. We have Cliff Burton.
Well, I was gonna ask about that. I legit. Okay. Yeah. How do you feel about him being mixed out of Injustice for All? There's no bass on that whole record. It's one of the worst mixes.
Well, actually, Jason Newsted was the bass on
Shit, my bad.
So
We'll
the
chop that
reason,
I'm gonna get heat for that. Okay.
yeah, right, yeah. But yeah, the reason he was not on, because they hated him. But anyways, yeah, Cliff Burton,
Burton, Victor Wooten, Flea. Last one.
I would say Feldy from Korn. Yeah,
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
I mean, he
drop D action.
He I just liked how he could slap the bass and it just sounded like bones clanging together, but it
sound was
it
insane.
blended into the sound perfectly. And how the hell did he play with the bass all the way down to his knees? It's like, that's so cool, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna throw an honorable mention. Matt Freeman of Rancid.
Matt Freeman of Rancid.
Yes. I don't know if you're familiar or not, but
I'm not super familiar.
Do yourself a favor and listen to Maxwell Murder by Rancid and tell me if that's not an incredible bass line.
Okay.
And then what advice would you have for someone going through any kind of like mental health struggle?
That's a really... you can give a general answer because that's a general question.
Yeah.
So I would say that get the help right now, and let us or anyone, come to you to where you're at, to help you, because a lot of the times what we see is people wait till just the ultimate last minute, and it's just so hard to get that treated, and then it just becomes so much harder to do. So the quicker you can do it, the easier the process can be.
Sure.
And what advice would you have for like a mental health professional that's looking to like move into their like a private practice or start their own practice?
Don't do it.
How many people we talk to were like, what advice do you have for like being a director or being a musician or being whatever? Like, don't fucking do it. Just stop.
Right. But if I had to give other advice, make sure you have a lot of money to start with. Make sure you have other players that are ready to, that are in line to work with you, rather than just going in at it, which is what I did. I've always lived by perseverance. You just keep going, keep trying. Eventually, it'll work.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, David, thank you so much for coming on today, sharing your story. We appreciate it. RealPsychiatricServices.com. Go check them out. Get yourself all straightened out. We're sending our producer Chris there right after this, so we'll see you next time. Peace. If you or someone you know is struggling with drugs or alcohol, contact the House of Hope today
at hofhope.org or call for a consultation.